Hey guys, welcome back. So I've got my review for you today on the Too Faced Le Grand Palais set. So I'm going to go over what I normally do in my review videos. We'll talk about pricing, we'll look at packaging, look at swatches. I am going to mention some repeats and also some comparable shades that I found between some in this set versus some of the previous holiday sets from Too Faced. And then I'm also just going to give you my overall thoughts and impressions on this set. So let's get into it. Okay, so the price on this set is $58 and you get 15 eyeshadows that are 1.6 grams each, 3 that are 2.2 grams each, 4 face powders that are 2.5 grams each, and then you also get deluxe size samples of the Shadow Insurance, one of the Melted Liquefied Longwear lipsticks, and one of the Better Than Sex mascaras. So as far as the packaging goes on this set, it is really adorable. I think it makes just for a really beautiful special gift for somebody. It is very bulky, so that's not an advantage of the packaging, but it is really cute and just something adorable to give someone. So this is the outside box. I mean, you can see it's big, and it came in a big Sephora box when I ordered it in the mail. So you can see everything that you get on the back here. Really pretty. Too Faced always does such a good job with their packaging, and just their whole presentation is adorable. And then this is the actual set. I mean, it looks like a little present, and it looks like it's like wrapped, and even like this is slightly like ribbed and this is slightly raised. So there's just really nice detail on it, but I mean, you can see it's big for sure. So, you know, it's not especially functional, but it is really cute and special. So then you open it up. So you take the little end off and open it up, and then this lifts up. And I mean, what? It just looks like a little like house or something, a little like French palace. I mean, it is the Grand Palais, you know? And then this is the actual palette down here. So you can see these are all your deluxe size samples that you get. This is Melted Peony, which is on my lips right now. So you can see basically a swatch of what that looks like. But anyway, packaging is adorable. You know, the only negative to it is that it is really big, but as far as a gift for somebody, it's precious. And then as far as the palette goes, size-wise, I wanted to compare it for you. This one back here is a few of my favorite things. This one is Everything Nice. So you can see it's a little bit shorter, but it's taller, and it's actually thinner than both of those. So you can see just like a size comparison of that. And then when you open it up, it doesn't have a mirror, so that's one thing about it, but it does have a really pretty presentation. It's really cute. So these are the shadows that you get in here. There are a lot of shimmery, chunky glitter shades in this palette, and we'll get into that when we look at swatches. But overall, it's just a very shimmery palette. That's really the overall feeling that I get from it. I mean, there are a lot of neutrals, so it is kind of a neutral palette, but I hesitate calling it that because of all the glittery shades. It makes it a little bit more kind of like a fun holiday palette, you know? And there are some colorful shades thrown in there too. And then you do also get 4 face products down here at the bottom. And then these are slightly larger, which are, you know, those shadows that you're going to use often. So it's nice that they're a little bit bigger in size. Okay, now we're going to get into some swatches. So I'm going to start on the top row of the palette, top left side of the palette. And I am using my trusty Jordana lip liner because that's what I've got in here to use as a pointer. Okay, so this one right here is White Christmas. This is Satin Sheets. And this is Vintage Lace. These are all really nice shades. I like all these a lot. I love that they have larger matte shades, really good for brow bone highlights, lid shades. I love that they made these a larger size. And then this is the second row in the palette. This one is Delightful, Moon on Their Wings, Cobblestone, City Light, and Dreamlight. I really like Dreamlight a lot. This one's a really nice creamy buttery shade for a transition shade, for a crease color. Now, as far as these glittery shades, there's a lot of fallout, and they're definitely a very chunky texture. I am wearing Moon on Their Wings on my lid, like the inner half. And what I did is used a glitter glue, and then also I tapped it on my lid, so I didn't do any kind of brushing or blending. I really just tapped onto a really sticky glitter glue sort of a base. And it did stick, and it is really pretty. It's just a more difficult texture to work with. So I just want to mention about those, and there's going to be more in a second. Just as they come up, I want to mention the ones to you that, you know, are kind of more of that crumbly sort of a texture. But, I mean, they look really pretty in a swatch. They're really beautiful shades. They're just a little bit more difficult to work with. And then this is the third row in the palette. This one is String of Lights, Yule Log, Wish List, Arc de Triomphe, and Belle Femme. Belle Femme is really a nice texture. All the mattes in this palette are really beautiful and really buttery. Really nice texture on those. This one's a really nice buttery sort of texture to it, a really nice metallic shade. But then these all have some of that kind of chunky texture. This one, like when you first go to swatch it, it almost feels very dry and kind of like hard in the pan. So it's a really weird texture, but then you look at the swatch and it's beautiful. It's like a silver with just iridescent rainbow sort of glitter. It's a really pretty shade. It's just a strange texture. So if you can make it work, it's really beautiful. It's just a little more high maintenance again. Next row down, this one is Stiletto, Eiffel, Midnight in Paris, Champs-Élysées, am I saying that right? And Party Dress. This one has appeared, I'm gonna go over that in a second. That one's been in 3 different palettes and I never like that shadow. It just never works for me. I don't know, it's just like a blue that takes forever to build up. No. But Stiletto is really nice and I do love the color of Eiffel. It's kind of like a taupey silvery green. It's really cool and I am wearing this one on kind of like the middle to outer part of my lid. So it's just a really pretty purple. But I had to pack that one on too because it did have fallout. So as far as like chunky texture, really all 4 of these have that chunkier texture and do take, you know, working with them and packing them on your lid. And then lastly, the face products. On the left side, this is Stardust Blush. This is Skyline Blush, Flush Luminizer, and Sun Bunny Bronzer. Sun Bunny Bronzer, I've never had that one, but that one looks pretty orangey, at least on my skin tone. So I probably just have to use that one as an eyeshadow. But all the face products are nice. The blushes are a nice kind of like satiny matte finish, so you have the option of keeping them that way or layering them with some kind of a highlighter to give them a little bit of a glow. So I do really like the face products in this palette. I am wearing this one on my cheeks and also the highlight today. And then as far as repeats, dupes, and that type of deal, I did find 2 repeats from previous palettes that at least I have. There may be more repeats and I might just not have those palettes, but I found 2 repeats I'll mention to you. I did find a couple of similar shades. They're not exact dupes, but they're pretty close, at least, you know, in that same family. But there's a lot of in the same vicinity sort of colors. So there might be like a champagne shade in this year's palette, but it's more like pinky toned or something, and maybe in a previous year it was more yellowy toned. So they're not the same color, they're not dupes, they're not really even similar enough for me to show you, but there's a lot of that kind of stuff happening, which that happens in most eyeshadow palettes. But that's mostly what's going on in this palette that I could find, but there are a couple of similar shades and a couple of repeats. So repeats, Moon on Their Wings. This is the exact same color, same name and everything from a few of my favorite things. And then Yule Log, this is the exact same color, same name and everything that was in La Belle Carousel. So those are the 2 repeats I found. And then Midnight in Paris is that blue one that I was mentioning to you in swatches. That is pretty similar to some other palettes. So this one right here is Midnight in Paris. This one is Head Over Heels from the Everything Nice palette from last year. And this one is Party Time from a few of my favorite things. So you can see they're not exact, but it's almost like in each of these palettes there's a blue that just kind of bugs me. Like I wasn't ever able to make these work, and this one just seems like it's going to be the same way. But you know, it's funny, I know people that really loved these 2, so it may be the same with this one. You may really love this shade, but for some reason, I just really can't get any of these to work, but I did want to show you comparisons of them. And then they always seem to throw in some kind of a really nice transition shade. So Cobblestone is the one from this year, and there are a couple of similar ones from other palettes. So this one is Cobblestone. This one right here is Fond of You from the Everything Nice palette, and this one is Chocolate Milk from a few of my favorite things. So all three really beautiful. I love all of these. These are always my go-to shades for my transition area on my eyes, and they're just beautiful. They have a really nice texture, so I love all these. And then I wanted to show you this comparison because this is kind of an example of that there's a lot of this kind of situation where they're sort of in the same family, but they're not really the same color at all, and they're not dupes. So this one is Vintage Lace from this year's palette, and then this one is Dream On from the Everything Nice palette. So this one's definitely more of like a yellowy shade, whereas this one is kind of more like a creamy, cool toned shade. So they're not the same. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff happening where you're not getting a lot of exact repeats. There are just those couple of similar shades, but there's a lot of this where they're sort of in the same family, but they're not the same shade. So as far as the formula goes on these shadows, you could probably tell that just when I was going through swatches. The mattes are really nice. They're buttery, they're pigmented, they have a nice texture, they blend really well, but then there's just a lot of glittery shades in this palette. So if you are considering this purchase, I would say you definitely have to like glittery shades, and you have to be comfortable with working with them. So either with Max Fix Plus, honestly I would just recommend a glitter glue. I use the Too Faced Shadow Insurance glitter glue. That's what I use, and it worked really well. And I just patted the colors on, and it did work. I had a little bit of fallout, but when I was super careful, I didn't have a ton. But on this eye, I wasn't quite as careful, and I had a lot more. So it really is just going to depend on how you work with these shadows. So as far as texture goes, mattes are really nice, but the kind of like chunky glitter ones just take a lot more effort to work with them. But I mean, I do like the way they came out on my eyes. I just don't know if I'm going to want to go through this sort of process every single day, but maybe for like a holiday occasion or something like that, I might. So my overall opinion on this palette is that I think it's really pretty to look at. It's a really special presentation, and if you do have somebody in your life that just really loves fun, just special holiday sort of makeup, and they like glittery shades, they feel comfortable working with glittery shades, they may really like this palette. I think it'd make a really cute looking gift, or even for yourself. You know, if you feel comfortable with those kind of shadows, there are tons of fun holiday sort of looking shadows in this palette, so you may really love it. But just go into it knowing that's the majority of this palette are those kind of chunky glittery shades. For me personally, while I do feel comfortable working with glittery shades, I just don't know that I'm going to be reaching for this palette a ton. I would definitely reach for my Stardust palette over this one, or even other ones in my collection. So it's not one that I think I'm going to be reaching for a ton, so I don't even know if I'm going to keep it. I'm kind of on the fence about it. I am going to be reviewing the Le Grand Chateau palette, so you can watch for that review, so we'll see how the texture of those shadows are. But I love the Stardust palette, so as of right now, that's going to be my go-to, and it is a go-to for me right now. But these, well, I do think that they are fun once you get them on your eyes and pretty. They're just a lot of effort, so I don't know that I'm going to personally be reaching for this palette a ton. Alright guys, so that's my overall review on the Too Faced Le Grand Palais. So I hope that you really enjoyed this video, and I hope it was helpful for you. Please give it a thumbs up if it was, and let me know down below if you have tried this set, what you think about it. I always enjoy hearing your opinions. Ask me any questions that you have, I'm happy to answer those. Please subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and I'll see you in my next video.